main interface here, okay, this is of course all web-based. You can log in from a tablet or from home if necessary. When it opens up, it just kind of opens up on your home page, and this is just everything that would pertain to you or the person who's logged in. You got your general information. Again, this is all sample data. You can see your time and you can see your calendar, and if I click on these things, it'll basically expand them out and kind of focus on the particular screens here. And of course I can flip back and forth and go back weeks, months, years, pretty much all the way back to my hire date. There's no limit to the amount of history that this software can contain. All your navigation is basically on the left, so it's real easy. You just basically got little tab headers here. And one thing I thought was kind of neat when I first saw it is this is what they call a breadcrumb trail. Every screen I'll click on will actually create little hyperlinks. This is very modern. And you'll realize the benefit to this later because it makes it super easy to just zip back and forth page to page, go back to exactly where you were 3 pages ago. And I thought this was a really neat idea for them to put in here. They call it a breadcrumb trail. But I'm logged in as a supervisor right now, so I've got things like the admin tab. But when you click on the admin here, notice I get a kind of a different main screen, which is really sort of an overview of this is what's going on right now. Okay, here's all my leave requests that I need to attend to. This is sort of like a to-do list. Okay, these are all employees that have pending requests that I need to answer, either yay or nay. And it's all interactive, so I can click on this and it'll take me to the appropriate area of the software where I can review David's balances and check the conflicts and ultimately approve or deny his request. I can see timesheet approvals, leave request action taken since last login. This would be a list of supervisors that have approved or denied employee leave requests that I'll be able to see. My employees who are absent today, you'll notice there's, a lot of this is configurable. Like I can say, okay, who's out this week? And it'll just show me at a glance, just right here at this, on this screen. I can say who's out this month. And it'll show me everybody who's out this month and what day they're out and how long they're out. These are called KPIs, key performance indicators. And it gives me, my department attendance levels. You'll notice if a lot of people are out, these little bars will start going down. If you have more departments than that, of course, this thing's all scrollable. And this is just sort of the header. This is sort of the at-a-glance admin page. The admin tab is mostly your configurations, creating your departments and parameters. This is where I would go to configure accrual policies. Hey, we'll help you build these. This is software as a service. Or look at the audit history. This software has a complete audit history of every change ever made in the software, who made it, who it affected, down to the second. It's keyword searchable, savable, printable. It's even written in a biographical format, so it's easy to read. You'd be amazed at some of the audit histories out there. You can't even tell what they say. They're so complicated. So that's one thing that folks have really liked about ours is the biographical nature of it. But a lot of little headings here, and we can take a peek at some of the key ones. Departments, this is where you go in and enter in your departments. We can also upload a lot of this data from an Excel spreadsheet. So either way. But you can have as many departments as you want, name them anything you want to name them. I mean, that's all unlimited. And then, of course, you put your people in their appropriate department, and you got their supervisors. You can do conflict limit. It's a pretty straightforward concept here. The holiday editor, this is simple, just company-wide holidays. Enter them in. They can be full days, half days. They can be rolling or floating or, it'll handle all that. There's also a message of the day feature. Now, this is kind of interesting. You can make this first thing someone sees when they log in. And it works as a great reminder system. I didn't actually have mine turned on, but you can turn it on and change it whenever you like. And you might, have it say things like, don't forget to turn in your insurance forms by the end of the month. And when people log in, it'll be boink, they'll see that little message of the day. Oh, yeah. Don't forget the company softball game coming up. Don't forget the company picnic. Whatever you want it to say. Like I said, it's just the message of the day. And if you create it and turn it on, it'll be the first thing people see when they log in. So that's kind of neat. Point and occurrence tracking. I don't know if you all track points and occurrences. We have discovered that it's a rapidly growing trend in the industry right now. And so we've added it in here where you can actually get point accumulation on either what we call occurrences or category usage. You can do it either way. And that is a very popular trend. So, somebody gets a certain amount of points, it might be grounds for a verbal warning. Next amount of points might be grounds for a written warning. Ultimately, enough points against you could be grounds for termination. And that's one example of how people might use a point tracking system. And of course, I call it a demerit system, but you can do it the opposite too. Exceeding your quota might be a reward, might get an extra day of vacation, things like that. So people use it in 900 different ways, and ours is very dynamic. I mean, you can create categories. It can be anything you want them to be. Give them a point value. Occurrence values can be tiered off. You can have them roll off after a certain amount of time, all that stuff. Again, some people use points, some folks don't. Usually, not every company will use every facet of this software. I mean, hopefully you do, and that's our job, is to try to appease everybody. But, there may be some things in here you use more than others. I mean, everybody's a little different. Like from my experience with the reports, I mean, there's like 80 different built-in reports. There's a ton of them. And a built-in report writer where you can build your own report from the ground up, save it, and use it over and over again. People start using the software, they'll find 6 or 7, or not even that many sometimes, reports that they just love, and those are the ones they use all the time. But that varies per company. Different companies use like different reports, so it all kind of varies. Punch policies, where you set up how employees can use the software and then how it treats that time once it's been entered. Release notes, the software is always up to date, and you get a history. Every time we add new things to the software, I mean, you can always go into release notes. But anytime we add something, when a supervisor goes to log in, you'll get a little pop-up notification saying, here's what we've done. Sometimes there's videos associated with them, or screen samples sometimes. So that's just sort of a ledger. It's a history of, as we add things to the software, we always put out release notes for our customers so they know what we've added. And they're usually all based on customer requests. I mean, if there's ever things you want to see in the software that aren't in here already, please let me know, because we rely on that as a company. And I can, I put them in a developer's queue. It's very simple. I put it into the queue, and the most commonly requested items get built on a regular basis. That's exactly how we do it. So pretty straightforward. If you delete an employee out of the system and then you want to get them back for one reason or another, that's what restore employee is. You never truly have to delete an employee out of the software. That being said, just terminate them. Just enter in a termination date. By default, be filtered from your view. If you want to go retrieve archived records on, your old retirees, fine. Just, all you got to do is just uncheck the box and it'll filter them back in, and you can run reports on them just like as if they were here. Now, once you enter in a termination date for an employee, and that's under their employee information screen, the software will recognize that, and at that point, they can't log in. All their accruals will stop and things like that, but their records are still there. Their historical records are saved forever in the software. So you never have to really truly delete anyone out of the software, just so you know. If you want to delete them, fine, delete them. If you want to get them back later, it's easy. You can do it yourself. Just go to restore employee and it'll restore them. Super administrator options, these are, kind of your major global type settings like signature lines and company names and logos and things like that are all here. This is where I went to change the project to a different name. It's under captions, under super admin options. And that would be a global setting. So if I change this from project to say job or client or task or doctor or location, it's going to reflect throughout the software with that new terminology. Supervisor roles. This is where you dictate what someone can see and do when they log into the software. And this is for supervisors. Okay, and these are basically like templates. And you can have as many as you want and name them anything you like. And then when you add an employee to the roster and make them a supervisor, it's going to ask you, okay, who are they supervising and as what role? And you can allow a supervisor, for example, to have a full supervisor access over one group of people, but a read-only access over a different group, and maybe a limited level over a different group. Like I said, there can be hundreds of combinations, but you just build these roles. You just click the plus sign, give it a name, and then come over here and determine, okay, what does this role mean? Can they add new employees? Can they delete employees? Can they edit the employee information? I mean, field level. Can they view Social Security numbers? Can they see compensation rates? The list. You basically just kind of check what you want them to be able to see and do with the group of employees that you're giving them access to. And again, the reason why we do templates like this is so you don't have to rebuild it every time you hire a new supervisor. So you just kind of create these templates, and then what happens is when you go to the employee's information screen and make them a supervisor, the software is going to say, okay, who are they supervising? Well, I want them to have access over the administration department. Okay, what role? And that's kind of how this works, and you can tell what role it is. And then you might say, and I also want this person to have access over the sales department. Then the software is going to say, okay, what role? And you might choose a different role for that same supervisor, but over a different department. And again, you can also break down within a department. So you might want to give somebody access over 8 of the 12 people in the HR department. That's fine. You can do that too, and assign, different roles. And it basically just dictates what someone can see and do when they log into the software. And it's all for supervisors. User-defined categories. Now, this is all your categories that we were looking at before: personal, illness, vacation. We give you the industry standards just by default: jury duty, bereavement, things like that. But you can add more. You can rename these. You can have as many or as few as you want. And you can also determine whether or not to include them in the leave requests for the employees to be able to actually choose to request off. There's that little checkbox there. You can determine whether these are counted as overtime, whether they're a paid category or not, which is nice. Makes your payroll, keeps your payroll accurate, and then you basically just run your reports on this. So that's user-defined categories is where you can adjust these. So this is a big area of the software. This is kind of the meat here where you configure all these things. And a lot of these things under here, you really just have to do them once, and we'll help you. And then like your accrual policies. I mean, unless your policy actually changes dramatically, you create this and then you're done. And you'll use it for the next 10 years until somebody says, oh, we're going to change the way we earn our vacation time, and that's fine. If you change it, you just go in here and change it. But so a lot of these are kind of set it and forget it. The admin tab is a lot of configuring, a lot of configuration options there. So these are the bigger ones. Okay, so the admin we looked at. The admin tab is mostly your configurations, creating your departments and parameters and things. The employees is where you can go and mark absences on their calendar, look at their time worked, their year at a glance, their employee information's here, things like that. Personal tab is me. This is all my stuff and everything that pertains to me, the person who's logged in. This little Breeze desktop that I showed you here that I use daily, you get it right here. Get Breeze desktop. So that'll allow any employee who has a PC, they can come in and download that little fella. They might just have employee access to it, and that's fine. Or you can also have an admin access and allow things like kiosk mode. This would be my calendar, my employee information. So again, the personal tab is just kind of reiterating some of the things we looked at, but it's everything about me. My balances, my work week, my year at a glance, leave request. Since I'm a supervisor, I have the leave request approval screen here. The My Request is where you go to submit a leave request for approval. There's the reports menu, user preferences, and that is just about it for the main interface, which is 100% web-based, very easy.